It's loading. Hello and good evening, everyone. My name is Tamar. I am your host this evening on behalf of Women Who Lift Israel. No matter where you're watching from, good evening, good morning. We're so happy to have you guys here with us for this awesome exclusive live interview with Women Who Lift Israel. Tonight we have a very special guest and a dear, dear friend of mine, Patricia Penton, all the way from sunny California. Well, is it sunny there right now? Is it cold?
It is sunny. It's cold, but sunny. Yeah.
Okay, so it's still sunny California. The name still works.
Yeah.
For anyone who is watching who may not know us and our group, Women Who Lift Israel is a female-only community focused on empowering women through strength training. We have women from all different levels of experience, totally new to strength training, professionals who compete, and everywhere in between. And what we've been wanting to accomplish with these live interviews is to give all of our members inspiration, motivational role models to get you through, especially during these hard times, and to get you to your best athletic potential possible. So tonight we have Patricia Penton here exactly for that. Background, Patricia and I go way back. I met Patricia when we were both in college. Patricia was a microbiologist and I was a biochemist. I've known Patricia for a long, long time, and she is the first person I ever knew that did CrossFit. I don't know if you knew that about you, but you were the first ever person that I was like, this girl does CrossFit. What is that? I remember that when I first met you. So we, like I said, have 1 hour with the amazing Patricia Penton, so I don't want to waste any time. I want to cut straight to the chase. Patricia, first of all, thank you for your time. Thank you for being with us tonight. Really appreciate it. And go ahead and tell us about yourself, who you are, where you're from, anything you'd like us to know about you, and why we chose you as our special guest tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. I feel so honored to know that I was the first person you knew that did CrossFit. So yeah, I live in California now. I started doing CrossFit when I was in college. I think it was probably 2010. Before that, I was kind of always involved in something active, right? Like I played softball when I was very, very young. I was horrible at it. Yeah, really not, softball was not my thing. I ran track, I ran cross country. I was a decent runner. And then I did ballet. So I actually went to like a special high school where I went to like my regular high school during the day to do my academic classes, and then the afternoon I went to a different school to do dance. So I studied dance for a long time, and then in college I was running a lot because I was a poor college student and it's free to run. And then I got introduced to CrossFit.
I was driving to work one time early in the morning and I just see you running around the campus and I was like, Patricia! I'll never forget that.
It happened a lot, actually. Yeah, and I felt bad because often I would have headphones in, and so I didn't hear people yelling at me. But later on, they would be like, I saw you earlier, and I yelled at you, and you ignored me. I was like, I swear I wasn't ignoring you. Yeah, so then I got introduced to CrossFit. I fell in love with it. I coach CrossFit now. I got my L1 coaching certificate in 2015. So it's been a while for that as well. And then I stopped doing CrossFit in like late 2018 to focus on Olympic weightlifting. So, yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So then you touched on this a little bit about all the different types of sports you did as a kid, and even not just like sports like softball and things like that. You even did like more coordination and movement like dance. So then what was the young Patricia like? Give us a background.
You cut off slightly. Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I was saying, you mentioned earlier a little bit about the type of sports that you have done when you were a kid. You also mentioned that you did things like ballet, dance, things that are more focused on movement, coordination, hand-eye body movement, things like that. So then what was young Patricia like, I guess, as an athlete? You said softball wasn't really your thing.
Oh, yeah, I was not good at softball. Yeah, I was much better at running, which is also another reason why I ran a lot when I was in college. Yeah, and I got okay at dance. I really enjoyed it, and I also, like, I was going to go to college for dance. I got accepted to go to a university for dance, but in the end decided not to, and like went for biology instead. I guess the biggest thing that's like unique about my childhood is that I have alopecia. So I was actually completely bald as a child. I lost all my hair when I was 4 years old. And that kind of taught me to, as you know, like, kids are not nice. Kids do not have a filter. And so having alopecia and like losing all my hair at such a young age allowed me to kind of have this mentality of like, I don't really care what other people think about me. And that also helped me in, I'm sure we'll get into this later in the podcast, but in weightlifting and competing, getting out on the competition stage, definitely that helped me out a lot.
Ooh, absolutely. And I think that that is a very major key part that people often miss about lifting, is the sheer amount of mental strength that you really need to have. Is something that has always just amazed me about anyone at all who competes in any regard. So I want to take a step back and still learning your story. You mentioned that you actually took a break from CrossFit in 2018 to focus on Olympic weightlifting. So tell us about how you were first introduced to Olympic weightlifting and what immediately drew you to be like, oh my gosh, I want to focus my life to this.
Yeah, so I guess we could start with like how I was introduced to CrossFit, because that's how I was introduced to Olympic weightlifting, was through CrossFit. I would not have known what. So Olympic weightlifting is 2 lifts. That's it. We compete in only 2 things. It's the snatch and the clean and jerk. That's it. And I would not have known what a snatch or a clean and jerk was without CrossFit. So I went to this CrossFit, well, not CrossFit. I went to this gigantic sports and fitness expo called the Arnold. It's in Columbus, Ohio every year. I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, so it was like easy for me to go. I went with my cousin. She, at the time, was a regional level CrossFit athlete, which is like pretty high up for a CrossFit athlete. So my cousin flew out from Seattle to go to the Arnold with me. And that was the first time I ever saw anyone do CrossFit. I saw people doing something called toes to bar. And if you've never seen a toes to bar, it is exactly what it sounds like. You jump up onto a pull-up bar and you kind of kick the bar with your toes, right? And I was like, that looks cool. Also, if you've never seen anyone do a toes to bar, like anyone do toes to bar really well, they look so effortless and easy, right? And I was like, I want to do that. I bet I can do that. And then I went and tried to do one, and I quit. I was like, oh, I can't do that. Nope, that's not happening. Yeah, so immediately I was like, I'm going to do CrossFit because I wanted to learn how to do a toes to bar.
A good goal to start with, actually. I love that, especially because you weren't going in there being like, I need to lose or gain this amount of weight. You were like, I'm going to go accomplish this new skill. I mean, how wise. That's awesome. Continue.
Yeah. That's kind of what another thing that I really like about just fitness in general, right? Like, you're just learning new skills. So that's kind of how I got into CrossFit. And then I sort of fell in love with it because of the challenge. Also, I've always been really thin and gotten like some mean, nasty comments from people about being skinny. And I was like, it's funny, most girls like don't want to lift weights because they're like, I just don't want to get bulky. And I was over here like, yeah, I want to get bulky. Like,
Yes, it was ridiculous. I'll never forget in college, everyone was like, Patricia, did you get swole today? And you were like, I got swole today. I don't know if you remember that, but I do. That was always your goal. And again, this is why I keep going back to the fact that you were the very first person that I knew that did CrossFit. And not only were you the first person I ever knew that did that, you were so enthusiastic about the strength part of it. And I was like, this girl is about something. I need to find out what that is, you know?
Yeah.
But so what an amazing story, though. And I really love the fact that even from the beginning, the first, time that CrossFit played a role in your life, it played a role in a way that really wanted you to become better and not simply just go in there and try to lose weight or gain weight or something like that. I think it's always so much more than that. And it's great to remember that. So then I want to ask now, how did you find your passion for, you say you're passionate about mobility, stability, proper movement patterns. Those are pretty specific things. And I think that some people might not necessarily know a whole lot about them. They might have heard the term mobility, things like that, and they're not really sure what role that plays. So first of all, can you explain these specialties that you're passionate about to our members, and what specifically about them made you A, passionate about them, and B, want to educate people about why it's so important?
Oh my gosh, yes. I could talk about this for the full hour, so feel free to cut me off if I start rambling.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I had an issue for a long time when I started just focusing on Olympic weightlifting. And like I said earlier, Olympic weightlifting training can be a little boring because it's the same thing over and over again, like snatch, clean and jerk, squat, pull, some variation of those lifts, right? And so it's a lot of overhead movement. The snatch is overhead, the jerk is overhead. And I was always, I did ballet, right? So like my lower body was super mobile. I never had a problem getting into a deep squat, even like an overhead squat. But what I didn't know was I had some pretty big mobility issues in my shoulders and my upper back, and then also strength issues as well. So I did not have the required mobility to properly, in a healthy way, get a barbell overhead. And I didn't know that. And so I was just hurting all the time. I had lateral epicondylitis, also known as tennis elbow, and then I learned later, like, your body, where you feel pain is not always where the problem is. So you can have referred pain, right? So this was an issue with my shoulder and my thoracic spine that was just like sending pain elsewhere in my body. And I was like getting to a point where it was difficult for me to even like hold a water bottle up to my mouth. It was so painful. Yeah. And so I went to some physical therapists, or at first, like, I was getting massages and they would help temporarily, but obviously that's not a long-term fix. And so I went to a couple physical therapists. They treated the tennis elbow, but didn't really look at my shoulder. I finally went to this fantastic physical therapist who was like, yeah, like the muscles around your rotator cuff are weak. You have weak serratus anterior, which is the muscle that's responsible for spreading your shoulder blades apart. It's called the boxer's muscle because you reach out, you're using your serratus anterior. So anyway, I learned about all that and I started working on my mobility and stability because you really need to do both. And all my pain went away. It was amazing. And so that's why I'm passionate about that. That's another thing that I love about fitness, not just CrossFit, but just like fitness in general. You learn about your body, you learn more about how your body works. That's why when I coach, I try to sprinkle in some little education nuggets, like the serratus anterior is the boxer's muscle, right? I had a coach that did that taught me a lot of stuff and I appreciated it. So I try to do that too.
That's something I've always loved about you, that I've known about you from the beginning. For those who don't know, part of the reason that Patricia and I became close friends as we were both instructors, supplemental instructors in college. And so I have known Patricia's love and mission to educate people, whether it's about microbiology or biology 101, or it's about mobility and stability and improving yourself as an athlete. That's something that I've always known and loved about you, still do, still love about you. I think this is why you're just like the perfect role model for our interview series. So I guess if people out there are currently they don't have mobility and stability as part of their routine, give us the pitch. Why should they do it? Why should they include it?
Yeah, to prevent injury, to move in a healthy way. And also, like, if that doesn't get you fired up, like if you're like, injuries, whatever, you will add weight to your 1 rep max. You will be able to lift more. Once I got my shoulders more stable, well, first more mobile, so I could get into that proper position to begin with. You can't get into a proper position, you're not going to be able to like lift very much weight, right? Especially not pain-free. And then also having that stability, right? So as we increase our range of motion through a joint, we tend to become less stable, right? It's like if you have a friend who's like always like twisting their ankle or something, they probably have hyper mobile ankles, like super mobile ankles, and they're not very stable. So, right. So you have to balance, right? Whenever you work on your mobility, you need to also work on your stability. So if you have more stability, like you will PR your lifts, like guaranteed. So if being healthy and pain-free doesn't motivate you, I'm sure getting PRs will.
Yes, that is usually what motivates, especially in the weightlifting world. Absolutely. I normally save all the questions to the end, but only because I know that you're very passionate about mobility and we have a question very specifically about this topic. I would love to feature it now while we're still talking about it. Someone asks, are there any basic mobility exercises that we should be doing? Where, if you don't know anything about mobility, I mean, of course, I'm sure it depends on maybe if certain people have pain in certain areas, but where should you start?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you're right, Tamara, it absolutely does depend on your own, like what your goals are, what kind of movements you're doing, if you have any mobility restrictions, or like I said, if you're hypermobile, you maybe don't want to work on mobility, you want to work on stability, right? So it really depends on you and your own unique body and unique training program that you're doing. There are a few Instagram accounts I could recommend that you follow. One is it's called Squat University. Dr. 𝗍𝘁𝗿𝗄, yeah, he's a physical therapist. He's amazing. He makes great videos explaining how to do certain mobility and stability exercises. Another one is, it's called The Ready State, Kelly Starrett. He's amazing. Yeah, and then I guess I'll give you three. So the third one that I like a lot is called Dr. Brent Brookbush.
Ooh, the third one is one that I don't know yet.
Yeah, there you go. Brent Brookbush. His name is kind of hard to say. But his Instagram is called the Brookbush Institute. So, yeah.
Amazing. Awesome resources for you guys to check out. For anyone who needs somewhere to start on these, other than, of course, Patricia's Instagram, there's something that you can definitely check out.
I like to post mobility drills and stuff on my IG too, so feel free to follow me as well. Those other people are much better than I'm by no means an expert, so.
Yes, but you're very adorable and you actually know a lot about what you're talking about. So for anyone who wants to follow Patricia, her social link is in the text above this video. And moving on with our wonderful questions, my next question is about the people around you. So no athlete does everything on their absolute very, very own. Tell us about the support system that you have. Who are they and how do they help you be the best Patricia that you can be?
Yeah, I think I have God, I love my support system. They're amazing. I have a big network now too, because we were living in the Bay Area, around San Francisco. And so I'm on a weightlifting team there. Mm-hmm. And then my boyfriend and I moved about 90 miles. We use miles here. I do lift in kilos though. I do not lift in pounds. So that's, we
won't judge.
Anyway, it's about a 2-hour drive away. We'll say that. Anyway, we moved, and so I'm actually still on that weightlifting team. I still do their programming. And so I text, there's a couple people on my team I text with almost every day. I send them videos of my lifts. I obviously send my coach videos of my lifts. My coach and my teammates are super supportive. Even if you are a coach, I think you should have a coach for many reasons. And one of them is just support, right? And then I do my physical lifting at my CrossFit gym where I coach. And so now I have this whole other group of support, this whole other support network, right? Like the girls on that weightlifting team have totally welcomed me in as one of their own. And even though I don't do their programming, they're super supportive. The other coaches are super supportive. I PR'd my back squat last night, probably only because everyone was like, do it, yelling at me to do it. So I'm very grateful for them. And then also my boyfriend, we met doing CrossFit, so he understands. And he also did some Olympic lifting for a while, a few years ago. So he understands that I'm going to be spending a lot of time at the gym, and he's never you don't spend enough time with me. Right? I mean, there's some people who just don't get it,
Yes, definitely. Being an athlete, whether you compete or you don't compete, if you live an athletic lifestyle, it's definitely a big dedication. You have to find the time, you have to find the resources, you have to get your butt to the gym and work. And not everyone gets that. It's true. So I'm really happy to hear that you have such a supportive, as your friend. It just makes me so happy. And I think that's also what our group is all about. We literally just hit 1,000 members the other day, which I was so excited about. And the reason that makes me so excited is because this is 1,000 women that can now stay accountable, motivate each other, support each other. Maybe some people there don't necessarily have a support system that they are currently satisfied with. Find it with us.
Yeah, anyway, that's awesome.
So then you mentioned a few times about how much you are into Olympic weightlifting now, more so than CrossFit in the past couple of years. But you've competed quite a lot. You've, like you said, attended the Arnold, and you've also competed in the Arnold. So you got to literally be on both sides. You've also, was it the Open that you tried to, but it was the beginning of March, the beginning of the pandemic, and then it kind of all fell apart. So first of all, what is it like to train as an Olympic weightlifter? And are there some things about training as an Olympic weightlifter that might surprise people that they may not necessarily think about or know about that happens behind the scenes?
Yeah, totally. I think, first off, I think most people don't know what Olympic weightlifting is. When I tell people that I'm a weightlifter, or I do weightlifting, or that I do Olympic weightlifting, they often think that I'm either a powerlifter or bodybuilder. Yeah. Which they're great sports. They're just different, right? Right. So powerlifting is 3 lifts. It's the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift. Right. Bodybuilding is more, not so much about the lifts that you do. It's more about your physique and how your muscles look. Totally different training style. And then Olympic weightlifting, or just weightlifting, is the snatch and the clean and jerk. So a lot of times people are like, oh, how much do you bench? And I'm like, I don't. I mean, I actually have been benching a lot more lately, but that's because I'm trying to go up a weight class, and so the bench is a good way to like put on weight. But I guess some things that people will be surprised about Olympic weightlifting training or what we do is kind of boring. Especially if you're coming from CrossFit and going to Olympic weightlifting. CrossFit's like, you've got everything, you know, one day you could come into the gym and you could be doing, you know, thrusters and burpees and hollow body rocks and all mix a bunch of stuff. And the next day you could come in and the workout could be run a 5K, right? It's like, and everything in between. That's kind of the point of CrossFit. You're supposed to be prepared for anything, right?
Right.
Weightlifting, Olympic weightlifting is you're gonna squat. You're gonna do some variation of a clean or jerk or snatch. Like you could break it down into movements. You can do a segment snatch. You can do a halting clean deadlift. You can do clean pulls. You can do jerks from the blocks, which all like sound different, but they're kind of the same thing, right?
Of the same thing, kind of, sort of.
Right. Yeah. So it can get a little boring, but I like it. I think it's fun.
Well, as long as you think it's fun, that's really all that matters, first of all. And then, yeah, I can definitely see what you mean, because CrossFit is like all about action. It's all about like you get in there and you kick ass, and you every day it's something different. You always walk in there and you're like, I don't know what's going to be written on the board, but whatever it is, I'm going to be doing it. And then with Olympic weightlifting, and I think also sometimes with powerlifting as well, because they're also like, you know, the press, the deadlift, and the squat. Yeah. And we even interviewed a powerlifter by the name of 𝗣𝘁𝗿𝗶, who said that sometimes her rest between sets, she can play an entire like game of chess because she waits so long between sets, which I thought was very, very cute. Yeah. But I think that is especially interesting though, because even with, let's say, a sport that to some people might come off as, I don't know, boring or not enough action, to you, it is dedication, it is technique, it's mental strength. And I think that that is really, really admirable. So then talking about your competition experience, what is it like to first step onto the competition stage? I mean, now competitions are a little different in terms of what's allowed with spectators, but to step on a competition stage and there's all the people in the crowd and there's all the noise and you're thinking, I have to lift this weight, I'm going to do it. I mean, what goes through your mind really? And how do you train your mental strength for that moment?
Yeah, the first time at your first meet ever, well, every meet you ever do, you're going to be nervous for. Like, it doesn't matter how many meets you've done, you'll be nervous. But that first meet is you're the most nervous, right? And at my first meet, so the first meet I ever did was actually a meet that was specifically for weightlifters who had never done a weightlifting meet before.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so this is an amazing event that I love that's put on every year. It's called Rite of Passage. It's put on by a gym in Oakland. And you, in order to register for the meet, like they'll check your USA Weightlifting registration number and make sure that like you haven't done any meets before. So you have to be brand new, no meets. And because it's everyone's like first meet, there's like a ton of spectators. There's a bunch of people there. It's a 2-day long event and it's super fun. And it's like kind of a low pressure way to get introduced to competing, because you're like, hey, it's everyone else's first meet too, you know?
Okay.
But I was still super nervous. And like before I did my first snatch, so you do the 3 snatches first, and then everybody does all their snatches. You wait 10 minutes, and then everybody does their 3 attempts at clean and jerk. So before my first snatch, I was like, I'm gonna vomit in this chalk bucket. Like, I'm so nervous. I might throw up in the chalk bucket. But I didn't. I went out and did my first snatch, and I was so nervous. I pulled the crap out of the barbell and I did a power snatch, because So for those that don't know, power snatch is when you receive the barbell anywhere above, like with your femurs parallel to the ground. And then a full snatch is when you receive the barbell in a full squat or below parallel. So I powered all 3 of my snatches because I was so nervous. I was just like ripping the barbell off the ground. And after my first snatch, I was like, I'm never going to compete again. I don't like this. It's not fun. I hate it. And then after I went 6 for 6 in that meet. Going 6 for 6 means that you make all 6 of your lifts. And after the meet, I was like, when's the next competition? I want to do it again. So like how I felt about competing changed in like, I don't know, an hour and a half. Yeah. And then, of course, when you're early on in your weightlifting career, when you're like a new weightlifter, it's good to do meets like as often as possible. So like in my first year and a half of weightlifting, I think I did 8 lifting meets.
Wow.
Hey, that's how you become not so scared. You just got to do it a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree. So then essentially the way you trained your mental strength is just by continuing to push yourself to go to these competitions, no matter how nervous you felt, no matter how convinced you were that you were going to vomit in the magnesium bucket, you still did it. You still did it. And I think it's incredible.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
About training mental toughness is also knowing when to take a rest week or a deload week, because weightlifting is such a mental sport. You have to go in and, like earlier I was saying how boring it is. Every single day you're like, okay, how can I make this not boring today? Can I have no misses today in my lifts? Can I not miss a single lift today? Can I, there's always some technique thing, right? Can I not press out any of my lifts today? Whatever, right? And so every day is kind of like a mental battle. And after your training cycle, you have to take a deload week, sometimes more for your mental situation than your body. Like your body could be like, I'm good, I could go, let's max out. But like mentally, you're not there. So taking rest is also how you train or like keep your mental toughness too.
Yes, I think that's actually a very good point. And I mean, we've talked a lot in a lot of interviews about the importance of rest in terms of like from a physical standpoint. But I think that you make a very, very good point in terms of rest for a mental standpoint as well. I think a lot of people often forget the fact that strength training and weightlifting of various kinds are very mentally exhausting.
Yeah.
And that's definitely important, like I said, from both a physical rest aspect and, like you said, also a mental and emotional aspect. So I think that's actually a very, very wise and very good answer. I loved it.
Thank
and
you.
I wanted to ask then, because I've been doing these interviews for a few months now. I've had the privilege between me and my co-founder, Sarah, we've interviewed almost 50 different female professional athletes or specialists, various fields, from weightlifters to Thai boxers to Brazilian jiu-jitsu and everything in between. And when I started these interviews, I would always ask about a most memorable moment, because I really thought someone's most memorable moment would be when they, got the gold medal, they won the championship, they got on the stage and accepted it, and it was this amazing thing. What I was surprised as an interviewer was to have people tell me their most memorable moments were moments of struggle rather than moments of success. This was something that surprised me. And so I wanted to ask you, especially now that we're talking about mental strength and, that nervousness of everything you feel when you go up to the competition stage, throughout your athletic career, what has been a moment of struggle rather than, let's say, a moment of success that you really feel like taught you most about you?
Yeah, totally. I think we already kind of touched on this with the whole, my experience with my mobility issues and my stability, shoulder stability issues. That was very humbling. Because so I remember one time I was trying to do a squat jerk. For those who don't know what a squat jerk is, it's when you have a clean grip on the bar, so it's a very narrow grip, and instead of doing a power jerk where you dip down and receive the bar in a little quarter squat, you dip down and receive the bar in a full squat, and with your hands narrow, not in a snatch grip or wide grip. So the narrow hands makes it much more difficult in terms of mobility. And I went to do this squat jerk with like an empty barbell, and like I like fell forward. I couldn't do it. Because my mobility was so bad, and I was shocked. I was like, what? Everyone always tells me my mobility is so good. This was years ago. This is probably, I don't know, 8-9 years ago. And I was like, everyone tells me my mobility is so good. But my legs, my hips, not my shoulders. And so that was very humbling, and just learning about my body and learning the things I need to do. But also, when you talk about like struggle in your fitness journey, so I would guess that like most people listening to this are not professional athletes. I'm not a professional athlete. I don't get paid to compete. I'm not trying to make a world team or a Pan Am team. I do this because it's fun and I like the challenge. And I would probably wager a bet that most people listening to this are similar. If you're like struggling a lot in your fitness journey, you got to change it up. You got to find a way to just have fun with it, because that's what it's all about. Just having fun and enjoying your whatever it is that you do, whether it's like running or swimming or CrossFit, just it shouldn't be a struggle. It should be fun.
I agree. And I think I was recently talking to someone about this the other day, and the point at the end of the day is you're doing this for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing this for anybody else. You're not getting paid to work out. You're not a professional athlete that's sponsored to do this and this in their sport. This is doing this for us. And so if you try running and running's not your thing, don't feel pressured to be a runner. Find something you enjoy.
Yeah.
I think that's a very important message to get people to understand. And I think if more people understood that, more people would be working out. I think.
Yeah.
So, but that was an amazing moment, I think, of struggle. And especially because mobility is something that a lot of people underestimate. I hear from a lot of people who lift and have, let's say, a certain pain, and they say, oh, I've had that for 10 years. That's normal. That's not normal. And that's what mobility is for. And if you focus on your mobility, your weights and your PRs, like you said, you'll hit them.
Yeah.
You just got to take the time. So amazing. And I love the way that you started talking really to our viewers, because this next question is really for them. Like I said, Women Who Lift just hit 1,000 people, which I'm so excited about. And through our statistics of our members, over 50% of our members are women who are totally new to all forms of strength training. These are women who might have joined because they're curious, they haven't started a fitness journey yet and are curious to start, or maybe have started a little bit but hit a plateau and don't really know what to do. For these women who may not necessarily have, lots of experience in strength training and are just starting out, what kind of advice do you have for them?
Yeah, I think I've heard a lot of women be afraid to go to the gym or afraid to go to like the strength part of the gym, right? They'll go to like the cardio machines and kind of stay there and not go to the strength part. And I guess for them, I would just say, why? Like, you have to ask yourself, what am I afraid of? What is it that I'm afraid of? Why am I afraid to go to this part of the gym or to this specific gym? Are you afraid that you're going to be like embarrass yourself? That would go back to my like childhood thing that I talked about earlier, of having alopecia and like realizing that like what other people think doesn't matter. Also, you really have to learn to like just laugh at yourself. right? So the other day I was coaching class, and we were doing upright dumbbell rows, which looks like exactly what it sounds like, right? You stand upright and you hold a dumbbell and row it up, right? So I was demoing that for the class, teaching them how to do it. And I rode it up and I hit myself in the boob with the dumbbell. It was so obvious, right? Because it went like crashing down, right? And I just laughed at myself, and the class laughed, and it wasn't a big deal, right? Like, who cares? It was a little embarrassing. Maybe you'll embarrass yourself a little bit in that section of the gym or at the gym, but who cares? If you're going to a gym where people judge you and care about like how you're lifting or what you're lifting or what you're doing, like maybe you don't want to, maybe find a new gym with people who support you and want you to succeed. And if it's more of like, well, I don't want to go to that area of the gym because I don't know how to do those things, then yeah, definitely get a personal trainer or go to a group fitness class where they can teach you how to use the weights, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Excellent advice. So then going back to Patricia Penton, before we get to questions from the crowd, what is next for you then? What does 2021 have in store for Patricia Penton, Coach PK?
Yeah, Coach PK, that's me. I actually want to become a better coach. So I think in 2021, I'll be focusing on getting some more certifications, some continuing education courses, specifically on like mobility and stuff. I coach a mobility class, and it's just like my favorite hour of the week. I love it so much. It's so fun. And I had somebody come up to me after my mobility class and tell me that that was the first time he was ever able to sit like on the floor with his legs crossed. Yeah. And it was so great. It was like, that's so awesome, you know?
Oh my God, it would make me cry.
It was a great moment. So yeah, I think in 2021, I'm going to really focus on educating myself more so that I can help educate my athletes.
Amazing. And I love that as an instructor, you always have your athletes in mind when you are thinking about your own goals. And I think that's very noble of you. And it's also a sign of a great instructor, for sure. You're welcome. So I would love to field a couple of questions that we got during our interviews, see what your answers are. We have our first question here. If you are not sore after a weightlifting workout, doesn't it mean that you didn't work hard enough? Let's say, to rephrase, is soreness after a workout an indicator that you worked out hard enough or not?
No. No, next question. Just kidding. So I am rarely sore after a workout. Probably because I'm working the same muscles all the time. So you're going to be the most sore if you're new to the movement, right? So I will be sore after a workout if I'm doing a different accessory movement that I'm not used to doing. I might be sore. You might be sore after just stretching. So and I will be sore if I do like a lot of something, right? So the workouts that are most likely to make you sore are ones that are high rep, low weight.
Really? I always thought it was the other way around.
Yeah, so if you're doing like 300 air squats for time, like you're gonna be really sore the next probably few days, right? But if you're doing a 1 rep max, like a 1 rep max back squat, since I use squatting as an example, that's not gonna make you sore, really. It's really the high volume that's gonna make you sore. So yeah, sorry, that's it.
Yeah, so basically it sounds like more endurance things, and also if you're working, let's say, a muscle that you don't work on a regular basis, something that someone can do, then definitely you'll feel soreness. But lack of soreness is not necessarily an indicator that you didn't train hard enough.
Right. Yeah. So like I PR'd my back squat last night. I'm not sore at all today. So just because you're not sore does not mean you did not get a good workout.
Good to know. Good to know. All right. Next question. What does your nutrition look like?
Oh man, I laugh because my nutrition is garbage right now.
Yeah. Your nutrition is usually like so odd. You were like the first paleo person I knew. You're usually so like.
Yes, I was very strict about my nutrition for many years. And actually I credit CrossFit with that because I learned about the paleo diet from CrossFit. You know, way back in the day, it was Zone. CrossFitters were super into the Zone diet, and then it was paleo. I've done paleo, I've done Zone, I've done keto, I've done intermittent fasting, I've done a lot of stuff. I do believe that nutrition is medicine. The food you eat has the ability to upregulate and downregulate the genes that you are expressing in your body. So in that way, like food is a drug, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I believe that you can, you know, prevent disease by eating a healthy diet. But I've kind of let my diet go off the rails a little bit because I want to, I went up a weight class. I was 51 kilos when I started weightlifting, and I'm tall for a weightlifter. I'm 5'7". What is that in? I think it's 167 centimeters.
Yeah, it's like just under 170, a little less than 170 centimeters.
Yeah. So for our viewers who are not in the US or like they're literally the rest of the world who that uses, you know, the metric system. So like really, really thin and tall, which is like not what you want as a weightlifter. I was good at have a great body for running, but like not for weightlifting. And I just decided I really wanted to gain some weight and put on some muscle. And now I weigh about 60 kilos. So I've gained 9 kilos.
That is a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. I'm very proud of myself. I'm very happy, but I'm not very proud of the quality of food that I've been eating.
I can understand that. And I actually, you know, it's interesting that you say that. I gave you so much crap about it. I'm sorry. But we interviewed a boxer, a kickboxer, and I asked her also about her nutrition, expecting her to be like, I eat this much and I make sure to eat this many meals a day and exactly like, you know, no carbs or something like that. But instead she was like, no, I love white bread. I love pasta, because she burns so many calories and she wants to keep her weight class where it is, that's the only way to do it. So I think that's also something that people don't see about training, is that they think nutrition is always like, I don't know, salmon and broccoli. And it's not always like that for all athletes.
Yeah, it just really depends on your goals. Eventually I will go back to eating healthy, and but like right now my main goal is to keep the weight that I put on. So just depends on your goals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have one more question here. How has weightlifting helped you overcome everyday life challenges?
Oh man. Definitely the whole like I said, like learning how to like laugh at yourself, right, is really important. But also learning how to not give up. So for like last night, for example, this happens all the time, but last night, for example, I attempted a PR back squat. I failed. And then I was like, I'm not going to try it again. I still have to front squat after this. And like, it's like a lot of squats. And then I have to snatch after that. And then I have to do pulls. And like, and then my friends were just like, no, do it again. And I did it again and I made it. And so it definitely has helped me just be more disciplined as well, Because some days you're like, man, I don't want to go. Like, I don't want to go to the gym. But you have a program that you have to, if I miss my programming today, I got to make it up tomorrow, you know? So I just go anyway, and you do it, and you always feel better after, always. You never like leave the gym and you're like, man, I really wish I didn't go to the gym today, you know? Like, it's always makes you feel better. So definitely being more disciplined, having that mental toughness to like not give up, and then also to not like beat yourself up about it. So weightlifting is highly technical. It's super technical. So you could really get into the weeds and get into like the minutia of breaking down the technique of your lift, kind of feeling crappy about yourself. Like, oh, I didn't perfectly execute this pull how it's supposed to be. You know, I didn't fully extend, or I just dropped under the bar lazily, you know, all this stuff that you get into. And I was for a while, I was like really breaking down my lifts and kind of feeling bad that I didn't have like perfect form. And one of the other coaches in my gym was like, PK, if you PR'd your snatch, but it was like a little ugly, would you be mad about it? And I was like, you know, honestly, no. Like, I would be really happy that I PR'd my snatch, you know? And so weightlifting has taught me that, you know, you just can't beat yourself up about stuff. Like, sometimes you just got to like take the win and be happy about it.
I like that, actually. I really, really, really like that a lot. And I think that a lot of people let it get their confidence down. I've heard so many people being like, I'm not going back. And they like take a break from it and they really get off track. But I love the fact that your off days are, in fact, what keeps you dedicated. And I think that is the absolute best. Someone just now submitted a question. What is your snatch PR?
My snatch PR as a 55 weightlifter is 57 kilos.
So you're over body weight. Well, now you're 60 kilos, but at the time you were over body weight.
Yes, I've not PR'd my snatch as a 60 kilo lifter. Actually, 64 is the weight class that I would be in if I weighed in like right now. Yeah.
Gotcha. So. That is quite impressive.
It's not that great of a snatch. A lot of people can snatch a lot more than that. So, but thank you. I appreciate that.
We have, it's not a question, it's a comment, which is also fine. Someone says that her son is watching and he said, you look like so much fun. He's in a CrossFit Kids class and he says he wishes he could join your class. So
thank you so much. That's so sweet. It's funny, the owner of my CrossFit gym always talks about in our coaches meeting, he's like, you know, everybody has their own style of coaching, and like my style is definitely like super silly, and like people will be doing the Metcon and I'll be like running around like dancing, and I'll jump up on a box like for box jumps and like dance on the box, and like it's fun. It's super fun. Yeah.
That's awesome. I like the fact that you bring the fun to while everyone is like, you know, dying by burpees or something.
Yeah.
That's the best. So incredible. We are coming up to the end of our hour, and it has been a really amazing hour, not just because I love you as my friend, but also because we got to hear about your story. We got to hear about who Patricia Penton is, where she comes from, why she is the way she is, and why you are so amazing. To end this interview on a really positive note, one very last question. What is your motto in life?
Yeah, my motto in life, I guess it is keep trying. Don't give up. Just gotta commit to the grind, you know? And I think I've sort of emulated that in like outside of weightlifting. Obviously in weightlifting, it's obvious, right? If you miss a lift, go back and try it again, you know? If you miss it again that same day, try it again in a few weeks, right? But outside of that too, right? I worked at the Centers for Disease Control as a microbiologist in Atlanta, Georgia for a few years. Then I moved out to California and decided that microbiology wasn't for me. So I became a software engineer. Like something completely different, right? And I coach CrossFit, right? So if there's, my motto is, yeah, just keep going. Be fearless. Be fearless. That's my motto.
I love it. We started with one motto. We ended up with an even better. So
yes,
be fearless and don't stop trying, which I think they can be co-mottos. They are both great words to live by. So Patricia, we have come to this end of our wonderful hour-long interview. And first of all, even as someone who's known you for a long time, I learned so many new things about you. And I think that you are just the absolute perfect female role model for our community of women. So thank you for your time. Thank you for being with us tonight, for answering all of our questions. Thank you for being you. And it has been an absolute pleasure to interview you tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. And for anyone who wants to follow Coach PK, aka my friend Patricia Penton, you can find her on Instagram. The link to her Instagram is the text above this video. Check her out. She has lots and lots and lots of mobility, stability, and Olympic weightlifting, and especially her beautiful corgi, Skylar. So check her out. Give her a follow. And everyone, have a great evening or a great morning, wherever you're watching from. Thank you guys so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.